Being alone is far better than being with someone that makes you feel alone.
I know this is a popular quote, but it's true. Today I ended it with a man that has made me feel alone for the past 2 years. And now that I'm technically alone, I don't feel so alone anymore. While I'm heartbroken for us to not be in each other's lives anymore, there is relief that both of us can find someone who is better suited for us. So for those of you who are with someone who makes you feel like you're hard to love, you're too much, or not enough, please love yourself enough to know that who you are is enough. We all have things we need to work on, of course, but you are enough for the right relationship and friendships. I think we are all capable of making someone feel this way without realizing it. I've done it before to someone I was with for a long time and didn't realize it until I was with someone who made me feel this way. It was an eye-opener and changed how I am in relationships. To those of you looking for a so, I wish you the best of luck and that you find someone who loves you and you can love fully. I'm hopeful for all of us. Well done. I read your other post from yesterday. It is hard, but you've done the right thing. I do the same thing of keeping trying for longer than I owe it to myself. We both deserve better. Someone who doesn't make you question yourself. Someone who does appreciate you and doesn't tell you off for not being quite right. You deserve better, and being alone, sometimes it's rough, but I find I get to enjoy a better self-esteem being alone than caught in bad relationships. This is how my ex-girlfriend of a 2-year relationship felt as well. She dumped me, got back together with me, and ended up cheating on me with a friend. I got the feeling that we weren't right for each other, but I thought we were just going through a rough patch. It never crossed my mind to break up with her, ever, and now I feel like I'm paying a life sentence. I felt alone then, unknowingly and unaware, and now I'm totally alone. Life can be a real roller coaster. It sure can be. I'm sorry this happened to you, especially being cheated on. I understand the feeling of not being right, been there for a long time, but you keep pushing forward because you think it'll get better soon. In some circumstances, it can. People go through things all the time and have their own ways of dealing with it. But when it's ongoing for a long time and that feeling is still there, gotta listen to your gut. It's hard to lose people you have a connection with, even if they're not right for you. My heart goes out to you. Try not to feel like this is a life sentence. All of this is temporary. I hope you find someone else soon. This is so spot on. The emptiness you feel being in the same house with them is creepy to say the least. It feels like two complete strangers going through the motions, but that's all they are, motions. Movements to simply make it to the next day. All the while, words are barely spoken to the other. The intimacy level that was once there is non-existent. When intimacy is tried, it is literally the last thing I care to do. So why do we stay? The comfort, the companionship, the holding on to, things will change, the constant memories flogging your brain with how it was once. The true answer I have yet to discover. I'm proud of you for taking action and wish you the best of luck. I didn't really understand this saying until I realized I was clingy and starving for attention from my partners, and no matter how much they gave me, it wasn't enough. Now, with my BF, I feel so much more secure and closer to him on the other side of the country than in my ex's arms. It's all about true emotional and mental connection and security. I was begging for love in relationships where these men professed love constantly and blinded me to the fact that it wasn't real or right. They would do tons for me, buy and pay for all kinds of stuff, but it all fell into a black hole because at the end of the day, my real needs weren't being met. It's difficult to realize when you're just going through the motions as everything does seem right, but inside you're dying. It's easier to blame yourself. I think that sometimes we forget that we were happy before meeting our so, that life was okay, if not good. We forget the past as the present coalesces and solidifies, and the future remains a distant abstraction having not been writ. When we met our so, things became better, life felt suddenly more fulfilled. But then something shifted, imperceptibly at first, but with time the shadows grew, and one day we woke up and wondered why we now feel so alone, and became fully aware of the shadow. The change is insidious and the pain is real, for the loss is the loss of a dream. Where once there was so much hope and promise of a better tomorrow, now there is uncertainty, loss, and heartache. Here again, not completely a feeling of loss of that particular person, but of a dream unfulfilled, a dream that will not be fulfilled, and a head full of doubts. We tend to question and blame ourselves first as we try our best to right a listing ship. It's common to feel this way. We only have agency over our own actions and do all we can to make things better. It's what a decent person does. As I read through this thread of everyone's posts and response answers, and as I write my own little part, I feel everyone's pain, both present and past, as my heart feels it is once again sinking into dark depths of the abyss of loneliness that can only be felt when one is not alone, and yet very alone. And when Pandora looked in the box, there was one thing that remained, and it was hope. Hope of a better tomorrow. My single ass feels along every day, but I have come into contact and have been communicated with my family and loved ones ever since I broke up with my ex. He was controlling, manipulative, and emotionally, mentally abusive. He was isolating me from my friends and family. Made me feel like shit. I felt even more lonely than once I realized what he was doing was not okay. Although, I am still lonely, at least I don't have to deal with that lol. I was never lonelier than in my marriage. For 23 years I apologized for breathing, turned inside out attempting to be a better person, better wife, better mom, better everything. All I did was lose myself. Once my ex finally had enough of the horribleness and left, I realized that he was abusive and that I am actually a fun, happy, good mom. In fact, I'm good at many things. I am much less alone by myself than alone while with someone. Good for you for getting out. Although in the beginning we always felt enough as loved, it was likely the adrenaline and being in the honeymoon phase that blinded us seeing who they really are, versus who we think they are. Once the romance settles, do we see through actions that they have flaws and ways in which make you feel skeptical, inadequate, and desperately do things to make things to back to the way it was. By that point, it is already too late, the damage already done. At that point, it becomes a choice to go or stay. To ask yourself, is it too bad to stay in or too good to leave? I chose to leave because I felt severely and constantly devalued and put down, felt like the other person was already 1 foot out the door. No matter what I said or did, I was nonetheless the only one carrying a lifeless relationship that only survived through cohabitation. Isn't it so ironic that we felt closer to each other emotionally when we were in a long-distance relationship than living together? This is so true. I just broke up with the guy the first had been seeing for 3 months and it was hard already, so 2 years. Wow, so proud of you. And yes, I never felt enough during those 3 months. I tried to tell myself that I was overthinking, but then, I just saw no point in dating someone while feeling frustrated and anxious most of the times. Hope you will get over the breakup and find the right one soon. Well, if this didn't feel like it landed in my sight for a reason. He is laying next to me as we speak. 6 years expressionless. I have known for years I was wasting my time, but we have the most complicated, love, hate, fire and ice type of relationship. If that makes sense. We are both bipolar, so it makes sense to me. Yet I believe it's more of a lust for each other the past year. The only time we light up is when the doors are closed, and that's where our chemistry ends. We have 2 little girls that we bond over, but I do 95% of the parenting. He is a mama's boy who was spoiled rotten and doesn't appreciate a thing I do for him, he just expects it. He's a strong but silent type and can go a whole day without saying a word. I do all the talking and make up where he lacks, I guess. I know that he loves me, but doesn't put in an ounce of effort to show it. I go above and beyond, still, when I know I need to hang it up. I know there is someone out there who would love to do all the things I've been deeply deprived of for so long. I usually don't complain to anyone because I know I'm the only one with the power to fix my situation, but I know I needed to hear this because I am a mentally weak person and always talk myself into staying out of convenience and comfort. I plan to stay single for a year to give myself time to focus on me and my girls. I never thought I could feel so alone in a relationship. I am running on empty. This is so hard for me to grasp. I'm still trying to recover from a 12-year relationship that ended in divorce. I get that you need to feel loved and wanted. But did you express your feelings to him about this matter? If he was told about it and it got no better than it was before, then yes, leave. But if he had no idea what he was doing and it wasn't made clear for him to grasp the issue, then there's the first issue. In my situation, I was supposed to know the things I was doing wrong. Well, that doesn't work for me, unfortunately. Someone has to show me in layman's terms, so to speak. Please don't take any offense to this, I'm just leaving an opinion. Of all the personality types, a narcissist is probably the most common and difficult to deal with. They are charming and have an uncanny way of picking out weakness and using them against you. They will also not apologize unless it will further their control and prolong what they see as a game. I encourage anyone who is having issues being made to feel worthless, stupid, unattractive, etc. by someone they are with to read any credible research on how to deal with this personality type. Remember, if you really are all the above things, why are they spending time with you? They feed off praise and a feeling of superiority, and they will get these things no matter how terrible you feel. Remember, you do not matter to a narcissist, you are only a tool they use to get what they want and need. You are a game piece they move around the board of life, and when you're no longer of use to them, they close the board up and find someone else to play with. Be sure to make your safety a priority. I know it is hard to accept, but true narcissists do not change. You will not be the one to crack the code and make them into what you need. I am writing this post to maybe save some of you months or years of heartache. I wish all of you the best, and a nice holiday. I can definitely relate to that question. It's something I've asked myself. I spent about a year in a relationship with a person I never loved and deeply resented by the end of our relationship. We were incompatible from the start and the red flags were impossible to ignore, but I was severely depressed with virtually no self-esteem, so I was so flattered that anyone liked me. I figured I just had to take what I could get. He was kind and I think he genuinely tried his best in the beginning, but that lasted all of 2 months. I spent the other 9 months going through the motions because our lives were too intertwined and I didn't want to hurt his feelings. I hope I don't fall into that trap again. No, I feel this. I have just since the quarantine accepted my behavior patterns and dramatic reactions changed my ex-husband and I over time, 13 years. He's the first of like 15 siblings, some half and step, and I am an only child. I suggest considering dynamics and asking you really want to see this person start a new life with a new so. At first it's easy to say no and feel free, but being alone means facing yourself including your upbringing. It's a very shocking change to be away from a person who kept the door to your current and past issues closed, just by being in the same home with you. Long answer, but I am in agreement with this. Many people don't consider the potential pain of being alone. Proud of you, internet stranger. I don't really date people, sometimes just have a small fling, and my friends think it is so strange. They constantly would ask, doesn't it get lonely? To which I reply, being alone doesn't mean you're lonely. Getting to know yourself, like your own company, and taking the time to really learn and grow sets you up for success in future relationships, romantic or otherwise. You will look out for your well-being so much easier and pick up on red flags quicker. Great job and good luck on your journey too. Exactly. See, my dad was my only parent and my stepmom was verbal abusive. He constantly worked day and night to provide for me and our family of 5. Now I have issues I'm trying to overcome with my boyfriend because I worry I'm too much in asking for simple things. I worry about waking him up for him to hug me after a nightmare over me feeling it's too much. It's hard to get over, so I'm glad you shared with me. It's nice to know I'm not the only one. Thank you. Oh, I agree. I was in a 2-year relationship and felt so alone, but I was also treated bad. I'm not sure why I stayed, to be honest, maybe because I didn't want the company to go away, but the last time he went behind my back, on the day of our 2-year, which was also Valentine's Day, I decided to make that the last straw and ended it. In a new relationship now and feel way better than the last one. I think I am in the same situation. Only that I try to go but end up hurting so bad, so I run back to him. I know I should do and I know he's not a partner I could spend my life with because of our differences and the way he makes me feel. I know this because I had someone who treated me well and I didn't see it until I was the one doing all these things. There are a lot of regret in me and I learned a lot, it's just that it's so hard. I don't know what to do or where to start. Honestly, I want to go back to the person who treated me well before, but I know it's not for his good. I really can't put it to words. It's confusing, but I guess I'll comment this and not delete everything. Maybe one day I'll have the courage to leave too. I'm currently dealing with this right now. I met someone last September who will always remain a good friend, but unfortunately we are just too alike to make a relationship work. We started off on the wrong foot. He was dealing with a lot, getting out of a relationship as was I. He was dealing with being a father too soon and unexpectedly. I think neither of us wanted to be alone, and we got along so well in the beginning. But our unresolved trauma from past relationships was never properly resolved, so it lingered between us even though we discussed it all the time. We just didn't know how to fix it. However, I can honestly say that being together this past year helped both of us grow tremendously. It allowed us to work on personal issues from past relationships and really look inward and figure out who we are and who we want to be. But our issue is that we tend to push the other too much. We know the other so well now that we just push and prod. I've learned that we subconsciously did this as a defense mechanism in the beginning when we first met. Sometimes people have so much shit to work on that they project their own insecurities onto others, and we were both responsible for doing this. But sometimes you get too attached because of that hunger to feel love, and over time that makes it more and more difficult to leave when you know you should. Thank you for sharing your story. You've given me the courage to finally do what I need. Leaving can be the hardest part, especially if you're someone who didn't get a proper idea of love growing up. We all want to be loved, yet we never learn to properly love ourselves until we've been so mistreated and neglected that we forget who we once were. So let's put an end to that once and for all and love ourselves the way we should. We don't need to be in relationships. We need long-lasting friendships. For me, it took a long time, but I call it self-acceptance. I've never had a date or any kind of relationship. For years I tried, but could never find a woman who didn't already have a boyfriend. I finally came to accept the fact that I would spend my life alone. Then I accepted myself. As a result, I worked on myself, my finances, and becoming the best self I could be. This led to retiring early, at age 52, and now having time, adventures, travel, and leisure. I go wherever I want, and do whatever I want to do. I have many friends, and so I'm not alone, if I don't want to be. I know this might sound callous or selfish, but even though we've never met, I'm so proud of you for exiting that relationship. It took way too long for me to exit mine, and I know firsthand the pain and torment it can put on the subconscious and conscious. No one deserves to feel like that. I hope that whatever choices you make on your future or relationships, you stay happy and healthy. And by the way, I love that title. I saved it into my phone to remind myself. I am in a similar situation right now. Been with this girl since almost 3 years. We had a talk 3 nights back. Actually, it was just from my side. She wasn't even listening. So today, as in right now, she texted me, "Hello." The situation is like that. As soon as we argue or just talk, we stop communicating for like 7 days or 8 days. It's been so much harder for me. Your post just struck my right chord. I can totally relate to it. Been thinking about it since so many months. So maybe, today, is the day. Thank you, smiley face. I'm struggling with this right now. On one hand, I love my GF and want her to feel loved, respected, and that she is more than enough. On the other hand, there are some issues in our relationship that have brought us to a breaking point. Shit needs to change for this to work. I'm talking the basics here, like giving space, not being manipulative, better communication, not being codependent, etc. I mean, I can see how I can easily be judged here as a judgmental asshole boyfriend who isn't letting his GF be herself. On the other hand, and she knows this, if she doesn't change, she won't have healthy relationships in her life because she'll inadvertently push people away. This was the status quo before we met. So what is the right way to look at this? I'm confused. All I know is that I don't want to hurt her, but I'm also not staying in this relationship if things don't improve, and quickly. Wow, another person saying not having a relationship and being alone is better than having any relationship. So fucking easy for people to say this when they have been in relationships before. Guaranteed if these people had never been in a relationship in their entire life they wouldn't believe this. I've never been in a relationship and would happily take one. Sorry, it somehow makes me feel more alone. Fuck outta here. I still don't understand what you mean or just disagree with it. Being in a good relationship is of course preferable. But I would take being in a bad relationship as opposed to what my life is now, which is being completely loveless and alone. Even if you're saying being in a relationship with a wrong person. You tell me, being completely alone at night, not having anyone to be with or talk to, or being in a bad relationship. With the latter, you aren't alone and is better than being completely alone. Of course, I don't expect you to understand since it sounds like you have been in relationships before. Imagine not having anyone to talk to, anyone to care for or listen to, anyone to share any interests with, anyone to hold hands, hug, and embrace someone with. That's called being alone. Not my relationship as bad, wah ha ha h. I am gonna drop my 2 cents. Everyone loses more than they ever want to admit when a long-term relationship ends. However, it's the odd things you notice when you're alone that bring just a feeling of victory or self-confidence, and that is how being alone will make you better for yourself and anyone else who is in your life, platonic, family, or, if it's right, your next romantic partner. It's a good idea to get some of your feelings out here. You're going to do better because of it. Assuming you want to have a meaningful discussion, which I would be interested in. Look at my post history and see why I feel the way I do. This is compounded even more so when I keep seeing this exact post on many subreddits over and over. But rarely, if ever, from a perspective like mine, who has always been alone with no family or anyone I can be close with. Curious to what you think then. Edit. Also, for the most part, one have made plenty of positive and happy changes in my life for the better, and overall a really happy and friendly person IRL. However, my God, seeing posts like these saying stuff like, only accept those who treat you amazingly, or, never accept anything less than 100%, feels insulting and virtue signaling, considering my life has been so fucking difficult to reach any resemblance of happiness or fulfillment from others or myself. It comes off as it's so easy to just deny anything that isn't perfect and doesn't regard people like me where it isn't so easy. I would personally take any relationship since this life can feel so lonely. Meanwhile, people like Op are saying the way I feel is wrong without considering my situation. They have a right to feel the way they feel without you mocking them. Your experience doesn't give you the right to bitterly invalidate theirs. Why don't you get the fuck out of here with your insensitivity? I can see why you've never been in a relationship. Fuck out of here.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video. And if you are new, subscribe and click on the bell icon.